Today, we're going on a trip to a place that gets millions and millions of visitors but doesn't actually exist. We're talking about Null Island, this really weird, totally fictional spot that, believe it or not, has a super important job.
All right, let's just jump right in with a question for you. Think about a world map. What's right there at the dead center? You know, the exact spot where the two most important lines on the globe cross. Maybe you're imagining some kind of marker, right? Or, I don't know, a tiny monument? The real answer is way, way stranger.
So this place is called Null Island. Its official address, if you can call it that, is 0 degrees latitude and 0 degrees longitude. That's the one and only point on Earth where the equator, that line running east to west, intersects with the prime meridian, the line going north to south, the big X on the world map.
Okay, so what's actually there? I mean, if you programmed these coordinates into a GPS and sailed out, what would you see when you arrived?
Well, spoiler alert, you'd find nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just a whole lot of open ocean. The physical spot for 00 is way out in the international waters of the Gulf of Guinea. We're talking about 600 kilometers from the nearest land, which is off the coast of Ghana. And the water there is deep. Like if you dropped something, it would fall for almost 5 kilometers. That's about 16,000 feet before it hit the ocean floor.
So let's be super clear. Despite the name, there is no island, not a speck of land. Null Island is 100% a work of fiction. It's a placeholder, an idea that didn't come from geology, but from the world of computers and data. It's basically a digital ghost.
Right, which leads to the obvious question, why? Why would anyone bother to invent a fake island in the middle of the ocean? What's the point? What problem is this actually solving?
The answer is actually hidden right in the name. In the world of computer programming, null just means nothing, an empty value. It's missing data. And see, a lot of software, when it's looking for a location but finds a null value, it can't just leave it blank. It has to put something. So it often defaults to the number 0. So a null for latitude becomes 0, and a null for longitude becomes 0. And what do you get? 0, 0.
So you can think of Null Island as a kind of digital lost and found bin. Let's say you take a picture, but for some reason the GPS fails to tag it with a location. The software has to put those coordinates somewhere. So instead of that bad data just floating around causing problems, it gets sent to this one specific known address, Null Island. It's a genius move, really, because it makes it super easy for developers to find all the errors in one place and fix them.
And this whole thing isn't just some informal developer joke. It became, well, kind of official around 2010 or 2011. A group of cartographers actually added Null Island to a big public map database called Natural Earth. That gave this idea a real name and a home, and the whole mapping and data community just ran with it.
And you gotta love this. They clearly had a sense of humor about it. In the official data, they described Null Island as a tiny 1-meter square island. But then they add a note, a very important instruction. This island is never, ever supposed to actually be drawn on a map. It's just supposed to exist in the code, behind the scenes.
So that's the story, right? It's a clever tool for cleaning up data, a bit of an inside joke for map nerds, and it's located over almost 5,000 meters of empty ocean. Seems like a pretty neat, tidy explanation.
Or is it? Because this story has an amazing twist. In a case of just unbelievable irony, for more than 20 years, that patch of so-called empty ocean wasn't empty at all. Yep, you heard that right. By what has to be one of the craziest coincidences, the exact spot of this famous fictional island was actually the home of a very real object for a very long time. Everybody, meet Station 13010, better known as the Sol Buoy. This was a real-deal weather buoy anchored to the seabed at, yep, you guessed it, 0 degrees north, 0 degrees east. For years and years, there was a real physical thing bobbing in the waves right on top of the fictional Null Island. And we're not talking about some random piece of junk that fell off a ship. The Sol Buoy was a serious piece of science. It was part of a big international project called the Pirata System, which is a network of 17 buoys all over the tropical Atlantic. This thing was a 3.8-meter tall cone, just packed with scientific instruments. And the name, Sol, pretty cool, right? All the buoys in that system were named after different genres of music. So get this, the buoy was first put out there in 1997, way before Null Island was a thing that people really talked about. It even disappeared once and had to be replaced in '98. After that, it just sat there at 00, collecting data for over 20 years
until it was finally retired in 2021. So now the spot is empty again.
It's just wild, isn't it? On one hand, you have Null Island, the digital fiction, the tiny 1 square meter placeholder for catching bad computer data. And on the other hand, you have the Soul Buoy, a real, physical, 3.8 meter tall scientific machine collecting real data. Two totally different things, one fiction, one reality, sharing the exact same address on Earth? Unbelievable.
So, okay, the buoy is gone now. Null Island is back to being just a fiction. But its legacy, its job as a useful digital tool, is actually more important now than ever before.
I mean, what started as a little inside joke for map geeks has kind of blossomed into its own little cultural thing. People have created a whole fake geography for it, a fictional history, even a flag. And it's still doing its main job, catching bad data from apps like Strava when people type in 00 to hide where they really are. And here's a crazy fun fact. The idea isn't even totally original. There was a cartoon back in 1957 called Colonel Bleep that was set on a place called 00 Island, located at the exact same spot.
And really, that's the big takeaway here. Null Island is so much more than just a weird little quirk in the map. It's this perfect example of the clever, practical, and even kind of funny thinking that makes our digital world work. It's a brilliant solution to a really common problem, keeping data clean. It's just a great reminder that behind all the complex tech we use every day, there are these creative, invisible fixes humming along in the background.
So, it kind of leaves you with a final thought, doesn't it? Our whole world is built on just layers upon layers of data. Null Island is just one of these useful fictions that helps keep everything running smoothly behind the curtain. It really makes you wonder, what other clever, invisible little fictions are out there quietly holding our digital world together?